What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video here on fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. We're looking to game week 23. Before we go any further, make sure you've liked the video, make sure you've subscribed if you enjoy fantasy football videos. So what we're going to do today is have a look at a wildcard draft, again with so many doubles, with so many blanks, and our chip strategy is becoming a little bit clearer. People are looking to activate their wildcards, and even if you're not, this will just give you an idea of what I believe the sort of optimal team is looking like for game week 23 and onwards as well. So without further ado, let's dive in. It is the usual goalkeeper combination. It is the man that is returning double-digit returns pretty much every week, and that is Kepa, up to 4.6 million at the moment. He may also continue to rise. People are looking to bring him in. He is one of the most highly transferred in goalkeepers at the moment, but with the upcoming fixtures, with the amount of clean sheets he's getting, with the amount of bonus points and save points that he's getting, for me, he's the best goalkeeper to be owning. He does have a game in game week 25 as well, although it's not easy against Spurs. He is still, for me, the goalkeeper you should be owning. Next to him, we do have, of course, Danny Ward. Leicester do not look good defensively. They haven't for a while since the restart. They had that little period pre-Christmas, but he's just going to sit on your bench. There's not really much point in going with anyone else over Danny Ward. If you had another bit of money in the bank, which we don't really have with this team, you might want to upgrade Danny Ward to another 4.5 in the likes of David Raya, for example, but then you'll be giving yourself a benching headache, in my opinion, every week. So for me, Kepa and Danny Ward are the two goalkeepers that I think you should be going with if you are playing your wild card this week. Again, Kepa would be the one that you would start pretty much every single game week. Moving into midfield now. So we have gone with an Arsenal defender, and we'll talk a little bit about this. In theory, if I was to play my free hit this week, I'd probably have an Arsenal triple up in attack. But I think for squad structure purposes, it actually benefits you to still keep one of those Arsenal picks and Arsenal options in your defence. I've gone with Gabriel. For me, it's only really Gabriel and Saliba that I'd be looking at. Zinchenko, I still worry about Tierney coming in and getting some minutes, especially when there's a lot of games like we have in game week 23, game week 24, we might have further down the line as well. And at right back, Ben White could easily drop out for Tomiyasu in one of those games, or have a pre-60-minute sub if he's not defending as well, like we saw in the past couple of game weeks as well. So I've gone with Gabriel just because his attacking threat is better than that of Saliba's. They're in and around the same price. He is very slightly cheaper, again, which is just about why I favour Gabriel. Next to him, we have the man that is Trippier. A rare thing. We saw him blank in game week 22, but even with the blank in game week 25, no fixture in there for Newcastle, still think he's the best defender to be owning at the moment, even with their price rises. Pretty much everyone already owns him, so don't go selling him. You've got the value tied up. Trippier has to be in there. Now, next to him, we actually have a player which might seem like a default inclusion in Luke Shaw, but actually, if you look at it going forward, I'm not necessarily sure we have to keep him. And actually, when game week 25 comes around, I might end up selling him. So if you don't have the money for this team, I actually think downgrading Luke Shaw is one of the easiest places to do that. Yes, he's looked good. Yes, he's looked good in the double. You've got clean sheets. You've got assists in there. You've got bonus points. But from game week 25 onwards, there were a fair few number of blanks, and there are some difficult fixtures in there that I think he is disposable if you could have a better option and if it allows you to benefit your team around him. Now, the two cheap options that we've got in this defense, we've got Everton man Tarkowski. Now, this is going to seem incredibly reactionary having Tarkowski and actually having Kilman in here as well, both of which got attacking returns in game week 22. However, Everton do play in game week 25. They do have a nice fixture, well, nice enough, against Aston Villa. They're also guaranteed to play in blank game week 28, although it is against Chelsea. Tarkowski is probably the most nailed on option you have, plus he's played with Dyche before. Game week 22 showed us that he still has that attacking threat, and he's 4.2 million. I think there's not really a more nailed defender at 4.2 or less. We were looking at Patterson, but Coleman's played pretty well, and Patterson is injured at the moment. Bueno of Wolves as well is the other one, but he did get benched in game week 22. So Tarkowski for me is the cheapest starting defender that we have, and of course you can have a look at him in game week 25, who can sit on your bench most weeks, but cover you for the blanks as well. And of course my last sub is normally Bueno at 3.9, but he got benched in game week 22, completely out of the blue it felt like. And I brought in Kilman in his place. Again, a very cheap option in the Wolves defence. 4.3 looks very nailed on. Again, the attacking threat is there. He's looked good in the past couple of games in particular. And Wolves are keeping a few clean sheets as well in around the most recent games, and actually since the restart as well. So although Tarkowski and Kilman might look reactionary, they are two teams that I do expect to defend well. Dyche and Everton I do think will be good defensively. Kilman and Wolves as well I do expect to be good defensively. So they'll sit on your bench, and you'll probably play the other three most weeks. Moving into midfield, and there are some picks in here that you might think, Harry, you haven't included, or let me talk you through exactly why, because I think it helps the squad structure with the picks that I've gone. First of all, it is the double game week for Manchester City and Arsenal, so we have gone with double Manchester City in our midfield, and then we have Haaland, of course, up front. Kevin De Bruyne is still in here, just because I look at the double, I think he will start both after not playing in game week 22. People think that means he's a rotation threat. I believe it's because he doesn't necessarily think KDB is needed in games and against teams that play a back three. Now, their upcoming opponents don't naturally do that, so I do think De Bruyne will come back into that lineup. Plus, they have Nottingham Forest in game week 24, and then, of course, Manchester City play in blank game week 25. When you're looking at teams that don't have them in, they look great for this week. You think, oh, I don't need De Bruyne. But when game week 25 comes around, they might be scrambling and they're thinking, oh, I don't have all the players that I want for that blank. So if you were wildcarding this week, I would have De Bruyne. I would have Riyad Mahrez in there as well. Mahrez did get the early sub, but I think these are still the most nailed options for me in the Manchester City attack. Mahrez up to 7.7 million. He is, for me, the one, if I could only pick one, that I would still be picking despite that early sub in game week 22 as well. So with the double and with the two fixtures afterwards, I would still be going in for a double Manchester City midfield, triple up on Manchester City once we include Erling Haaland. Now, Marcus Rashford does stay in here. Again, they do have the blank in game week 25, but the form that he is on, how talismanic he is being for Manchester United, he's one of the players that I would look to blank in game week 25. And the person I would look to bench him for is Leon Bailey of Aston Villa, the cheap midfielder that I'm going with. Now, you could go for Andreas Pereira. The slight reason I've gone with Leon Bailey over going with Andreas Pereira is game week 28. Game week 28 is another blank game week where Aston Villa are guaranteed to play. However, Fulham are not. With that in mind, I've just about favoured Leon Bailey over going for Andreas Pereira, but you could switch between the two. If you have a lot of money in here, you could go up to the likes of Matoma. However, again, Bailey is being picked with one eye on the blanks coming up in game week 25, game week 28, and even as far ahead in game week 32, where Aston Villa are also guaranteed to play. So he is there. He's playing up front for Aston Villa as well. The returns haven't been great, but I still think going forward, he's actually a really sly pick that will be a big differential. You can sit on your bench most weeks and then just come in when the blanks, and is a decent enough option with the positions he's taking up as well. And the final midfielder, so we actually only have one Arsenal midfielder in here at the moment, and that is Martin Odegaard. I just think he's such incredible value. His price continues to go up. Yes, he blanked in game week 22, but then all the Arsenal players. He did get a slightly earlier sub in about the 75th minute, earlier than we expected from him, but still 7 million, he is the one I want to go here. Now, when we bring in the forwards up here, we've got Nketiah in here as well. We've got Harry Kane and we've got Erling Haaland. For me, Haaland is a no-brainer. I think all of us want to include him. Harry Kane, again, if you look at those Tottenham fixtures from this week onwards, I think you're wanting to go and have Harry Kane in your team, given his recent form, given the amount of consistency and point scoring he is showing. Now, we have gone with Nketiah as my third Arsenal player. I would, in theory, prefer Bukayo Saka in there, Saka, and not have Leon Bailey. However, the combination that you could have Nketiah and Bailey versus Saka in midfield and then potentially Greenwood as the cheapest forward up front just massively, massively helps your squad structure. So what this, of course, would allow you to do is you have that stronger bench with Leon Bailey there. He also benefits you for 25, 28, and 32 as well. Nketiah versus Saka isn't actually that far apart. I do probably just about favour Saka. But again, the amount of money you're having to spend on Saka versus Nketiah, I think I prefer going with Nketiah. And he does look pretty good, although nothing for him in game week 22. And Saka did look pretty lively. I still, if I had to pick one, I think the value that Nketiah offers is just slightly better. So this squad, you'd probably play a 3-4-3 every week. So of course, Bailey on the bench, Tarkowski and Kilman. 3 players that are perfectly set up to help you through the blanking game with 25, the blanking game with 28, and maybe even the blanking game with 32 as well. You have a strong bench. You have a lot of doublers this week, plus potentially a few moves down the line. You can roll your transfer going into game week 24 and not have very much to do going into game week 25. So one of the big things you also get the benefit of if you do play a wildcard this week is rolling your transfers over the next couple of weeks, because you're already set up for the blanking game week 25, which means actually when game week 26, 27 comes around, you can attack them much better than a lot of other people who'll be using their free transfers and even hits to plan for those blank game weeks. So this is probably the optimal team that I'll be wildcarding into. Again, you might think it's a little bit template, but I think Bailey and Nketiah over the likes of the double Arsenal midfield, particularly over Martinelli, which is very popular, is something that will do you very well at the moment and over the next couple of weeks. And once game week 26, 27 comes around, you will still be further ahead than I think a lot of us will be who aren't playing our wildcard at the moment. Let me know what you think of this team. Let me know what you think of the picks that we have here. Anything you would change? Any of these you think too reactionary? Is it too template? What differentials individuals are not in this team that you would look to include, but this is probably be where I'll be looking to wildcard. If you have enjoyed, do not forget to like the video, subscribe to Fantasy Football Scout if you have not already. If you enjoy FPL videos, do consider going and subscribing to my own channel, FPL Harry on YouTube. There's a link in the top of the description. There's a link above on screen now as well. Thank you all so much for watching. Good luck in the remainder of Game Week 22. Good luck in Game Week 23 when it comes around, and I'll be back again very soon.